Right, hello and welcome to Froch on Fighting with me, Carl the Cobra Froch. I'm here with Eddie Hearn, my old mate.
Can't believe it's taken so long. I've been watching this podcast flying, and I would have thought I'd be the first one you'd have on.
Do you know what? I know, but look how busy you are. You're always jetting off here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah,
in fact, how long have you been in Britain now? When was you?
About 3 or 4 days.
3 or 4 days,
yeah,
and he's just drove up from Essex, so he's a very busy
back
man.
Tonight, we've got meetings with the Saudis tonight for the AJ fight.
Yeah,
and then
of course.
Back to Sheffield, and then we've got Mexico next week, Detroit. Things have come a long way, haven't they?
International flyer. Well, that brings me on. That brings me nicely on to my first question. We're going to go 12 rounds actually with Eddie Hearn, and here on Froch on Fighting. And the first question is, and I've not looked at these questions until I got them on the M1, and obviously for obvious reasons.
Sounds like you.
For obvious
Normally
reasons.
you call me.
No, exactly.
For the research.
For obvious reasons, I'm not. I didn't read them on the M1. But the first question is, did I put you on the map, or did you put me on the map?
I look back at, I remember the days when I first sat down with you. Remember when I came to your house on that hill where you used to live?
Yeah, on Bakewell Avenue.
Yeah, right.
Bakewell Avenue.
And I was real nervous. I mean, don't forget, I've been around boxing for a long time, but from a business sense, I was pretty naive. I was sharp, but I didn't have the experience. And all of a sudden, I'd signed Darren Barker by this point. I'd signed Kell Brook.
Yeah.
And now I'm going round to Carl Froch's house.
Was the first chat not at the EIS in Sheffield? Was that?
I think it was. Yeah, the first one was at the EIS. We had a cup of tea with Rob McCracken in the canteen.
Yeah.
Right? And you two were you were pleasant, but pretty, serious. Obviously, I think all fighters are quite wary of promoters. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, you were coming off the back of one, didn't go so well, whatever.
Yeah.
And now you're thinking, okay, so this young kid comes in, he's a bit fresh, seen him do Audley, seen him sign Darren and Kell, be, obviously he's got the Sky Sports deal, that'd be good for me. And
I actually just needed someone to promote the show.
Yeah.
And try and get me back on Sky. I was talking quite a lot to Adam Smith. Adam Smith's my colleague and obviously a massive boxing fan. And because I was breaking up with my old promoter and I was still in the Super 6 World Boxing Classic tournament, I think I'd already had the Durrell fight.
You had Glenn Johnson coming up.
No, I had the Kessler fight as well then. So,
but it's funny because when we first met, I felt like you would we ended up having a much better relationship of guidance with Rob. It wasn't just me being the mouth. It was initially, but in time we made moves together for the best of the career. And I feel like that was the one thing I realised when we sat down was you're thinking, I'm in all these wars, right? And I'm actually one, you were making good money for the Super 6, but you're thinking, one, I should be a pay-per-view fighter, and two, I don't feel like I'm really getting the profile that I should be getting off the back of my performances.
You're dead right. The main thing for me meeting you was I was going through problems with my previous promoter, but I wanted to get British television. And with Adam Smith and my relationship with him, I mean, he's not going to get me on television, but we needed a British promoter who got a good working relationship with Sky Sports, and that was you. Do you know what I mean? At the time, I don't think it was Frank Warren or anybody else.
We just, we took over the exclusive at Sky, and I think at that stage as well, you're in the Super 6.
I was
obviously
currently under contract.
Yeah,
as
but
well
I think
with the Super 6 still. I still.
But I think at that stage we didn't really have a vision because you were tied into that tournament. So Glenn Johnson, where you actually nearly got turned over in Atlantic City on the scorecards. I mean, I
didn't get turned over.
No, but you nearly.
That was a close fight.
One guy had it a draw or something.
True,
I'm thinking,
true, was it a split
decision? Yeah. I think it was a split.
So anyway, so the question the question was.
So did you put me on the map? Yes.
I put you on the map. Yeah.
Well, but I'd like to think I made a good contribution to your career as well.
You got me back on. Well, you got me on to. I did. My early fights were Sky. I boxed for the British title on Sky Sports. I fought Robin Reed and Brian McGee, all on Sky Sports.
But at the end of the day,
when I was in the Super 6, there was no British TV.
But not to blow your trumpet on your behalf, I can only do so much. So we were a great team together because I'm out there selling the product, which is you. And as it happens, the product was a home run with fans. Because you look back at the main points in our career working together, the standout moments of the Kessler fight, which was pay-per-view at the O2, that was a big moment, right? From there, the Lucien Butte fight, obviously previously, massive for you, for us.
After I lost in the Super 6 to Andre Ward, the first fight back on British soil was the Lucien Butte fight. So that was the big one that got me back in the...
but Butte, Kessler...
World title mix.
Groves 1, Groves 2. They were like massive moments for British boxing.
You missed out on my Mark Time fight there, Yusuf Mack.
Yeah, that was a big moment.
Thanks for that one.
Do you know, we need to go through these questions quicker. But I would say this one thing. I always use you as an example because although you were confident, you always needed reassuring. You know that, with Rob and me. And when you box Yusuf Mack, who we picked really as a sort of easy defence in Nottingham. You started phoning me up on Fight Week, as you do, going, hey, I've watched this Yusuf Mack. He ain't bad, you know. I saw him box Chad Dawson. He's a southpaw, etc., etc.
He just got 12 rounds with Tavoris.
Yeah, I know. You've done him in 2 or 3 rounds. So go on, number 2.
Next question. Well, that's an interesting one. Is it true or false? Am I the one who told you about Anthony Joshua?
Probably not. No. You can't have that credit as well.
No. Introduction, though, was a big help. And
you're after some. Yeah, now you're speaking so highly of him.
No. What did you say? I'm after what? Sorry.
Speaking so highly of him now.
Yeah. Well, listen. I like to be honest and truthful with my answers.
Everyone's.
That could take me off the questions, but bring me on to this rematch clause with Dillian Whyte and AJ.
Yeah.
Have you put the rematch clause in?
Yeah, absolutely. And now we've removed it, by the way, at AJ's request.
Oh, right, okay.
You have to understand.
So you stuck that in to protect AJ?
When you have a commodity, like Anthony Joshua, Canelo Alvarez, it doesn't really matter who it is. Belts, no belts, it doesn't matter. Rematch.
But this ain't a world title fight.
It doesn't matter. When you have such a wide A-side, look, he's about to make 60 million to fight Deontay Wilder in December.
Yeah.
We are giving Dillian Whyte a fight, an opportunity against... We don't have to do it. So all we're saying, in that position, it's not AJ, it's me, saying, if you lose to Dillian Whyte, you're not in the wilderness, but you're in a really bad position, and you've lost your 60 million in December. Yeah. So, and the fight would be 1-1 in the pros, and it would be the equaliser, and the rematch is 50-50. Dillian Whyte would make double-digit millions in a rematch, right? It's very standard. But as it happens, it's irrelevant, because I spoke to AJ and he went, I don't care about a rematch, take it out.
Yeah, okay.
But also...
I can understand you protecting AJ, but from Dillian Whyte's point of view, I can see why
it's not protecting AJ, it's just the business. If it was you in the same position, when you boxed, and talk about, World Championship, when you boxed Yusuf Mack, you had a rematch clause. It doesn't necessarily matter about the World Championship. If you're a massive name,
of course,
it's very standard.
And the flip side to that as well is if
the fighters don't always know
what opportunities has Dillian Whyte got queuing up for him.
That's what I'm saying.
He's probably got no other options.
He could jump in and fight Wilder off the back of giving beating AJ, getting that opportunity. So you can't just, it's all very well fans and people say, oh, just take the rematch clause out. And then you get beat and you get cut, right? And the fight gets stopped, and you're sitting there going, "Oh my God, we don't even have a rematch." But it's irrelevant now. He's taking it out.
So AJ's the one that said,
"He said, don't worry about it. I'll fight him anyway." I don't think it's the right decision.
So is that fight going to happen?
We've gone back to Dillian today and gone, "Here's the contract. Everything
August
you've
12th,
asked for."
Is that enough time?
Yeah, but every time we send him an email, 10 minutes later it's on Sky Sports News, and that worries me.
Right. Okay.
Because the game. I don't know. We'll see.
Right, there's 12 questions here. We're not going to get through them all.
We're going to do some after.
We're going to have another sit down with Eddie at some point. So we've had a good chat anyway. But let's have a look at one here. Greatest moment in boxing and why?
For me, or
for you? Yeah. Your greatest moment.
I mean, yours have to be up there. I mean, I think the Boutte fight, the reason the Boutte fight was so special was probably down to a little bit of my naivety of the boxing world, where we were so fresh at the time. Yeah. I was so clueless that all it was heart and excitement. Now you wake up in the morning, you've got 400 people abusing you. Most of those are from the industry. It becomes less enjoyable. Do you know what I mean? Back then, it was us against the world. Do you know what I mean? You've just been beaten in the Super 6. Yeah. You've decided to fight Boutte for the same money that you could have fought a Muppet because you thought you could win. Yeah. And that's really, for me, what sport's all about, rolling the dice and trying for glory.
But in hindsight, that win did put me back on there.
Massive. Without that win, you may never have got the opportunity to fight. This is what fighters have to understand as well. If you believe in yourself, if you believe in yourself, you've got to take those opportunities. The money was shit against Lucien Boutte for you. But look what he did.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I say that. I mean, that was one of the great nights of all time. That was back then. On those nights, I'm there and I'm living every moment of the fight. Whereas now, it's like I'm already thinking if he wins, the governing body are going to send a mandatory tomorrow, and he's going to say that and that. Do you know what I
mean? For any young viewers on this channel, they've not seen the Froch Boutte fight. There's a crazy guy at the end of the fight, jumps in the ring before the fight was officially stopped. Even though the ref did kind of cross his arms.
I've told him since.
And with Eddie Hearn jumping in, apparently I could have got disqualified. But I think that would
only
have
your
been
cornerman. Yeah, but it was still, I was shitting myself after the fight.
That was the naivety of Eddie Hearn early doors. Yeah. But you were still
that was people loved that.
But that was what? 10, 12, how long ago was
10 years, I think 10 years ago this year, maybe.
10 or 11 years, 2012.
Yeah.
So 11 years
11 years ago.
How quick has that gone? It's just been a mad whirlwind, hasn't it? And that was probably the catalyst for what happened next.
My entire life, my entire business.
Wembley Stadium.
Yeah.
So I've done best moment in boxing. What's your worst moment in boxing?
Well, I think the Conor Ben stuff was pretty hard because that's been every day for 10 months now. Do you know what I mean? But in the ring, probably AJ losing to Ruiz. probably.
AJ Liddington
Do you know what I mean? Because it was like...
I was in New York.
Yeah, we had Wilder planned for the Undisputed and like... Yeah. And the whole thing with Miller failing his drug test, we're bringing Andy Ruiz 3 weeks out, probably a bad choice of opponent for AJ, but we'd sold out MSG. Do you know what I mean? Like, get in there and to see him obviously not being able to recover, go down, get back up again, try and fight on, still concussed, go back down again, get up. Like, that was a big kick in the nuts, that was. But I feel like, you know, may have been good for him long term. I know people talk about, you know, he changed his style after that fight, but that weren't a great night.
Well, I've said a couple of times it took a piece of his soul away, and what I mean by that is he was quite an aggressive come-forward fighter, and when he was in close and when he was getting in range and landing shots, he was always quite a good finisher. Like when Dylan White clipped him with that left hook, then he'd get in range and fight back, and then he got the stoppage against White in that first fight. I feel like that aggression and that tenacity, I don't know, I've not seen it since, but is that because he's stepped up in class to people like Usyk, or is that because...
I mean, look, he's fighting at a high level, but I do think as well, there's no doubt, in those early fights, particularly the Klitschko fights, there was he used to box with a level of naivety, wasn't it? Like, he didn't really care what was coming back.
I think that helped him.
I think so. But also, at the same time, you look at fighters like Klitschko, who get knocked out by, like, Lamont Brewster, and come back and change their style and become very difficult to beat. Now, I'm not saying AJ's Klitschko, but he has got a lot better defensively. We want to see him be more aggressive, and that's another reason we want this August fight before Deontay Wilder, because he's got to get that confidence.
When you sit down with him and talk to him, do you still think he's got the appetite?
But Carl, if he didn't have the appetite, he wouldn't be in Dallas right now in 40-odd degree heat, training his nuts off every day.
For this potential fight with...
Right, you got all that money in the world. You're two-time world heavyweight champion. And you know that when the desire went, right, with you know, particularly after the Groves fight, you kind of feel like...
I was getting a bit old and the injuries when they went, but once you've got that bank balance...
But if I went to him now, I think it's time. He'd go mad. I love it. What? You know, he loves, like, he's working his bollocks off every day.
The only reason I say that is because when he said, what's driving you now, when he said money...
I just think he just
said that for the sake of saying it.
He lives under a magnifying glass.
Yeah, of course.
It ain't the most enjoyable life in the world. No, people think the fame, the houses, the money. He can't move. No. Imagine if he was here now. Yeah. Like, literally, I know, but is that enjoyable? So really, I think he's got to a stage with the media and everyone where he's like...
I got a taste of that when I went out to Canasota a couple of weeks ago. I'm not just comparing him with me. But when I was out there, you get followed around. Everyone wants something signed, and it's non-stop. No, it's not. It's headache.
The thing that you've got
nice
is
at the fans. It's nice to give the fans something back.
You're massively respected in sport. Yeah. You're very well known, but not to a point where it's like...
ridiculously annoying.
In Nottingham, I'm sure, like, but you can go places
and
people go...
Absolutely, I get left alone.
Yeah, but respected, do you know what I mean? And it's like, it's not a nice life.
That sort of attention, I would hate it.
But that's his life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Non-stop.
So it ain't easy. I know people, so what do you mean it ain't easy? He's got hundreds of millions.
He probably won't.
It's irrelevant.
He probably won't end up staying in England, will he?
I wouldn't.
No, he'd probably shoot off to Dubai or something, which is fair enough. So, another question before we let you go back to the, start the press conference. Who would win in a boxing match right now, me or Conor McGregor? Your new best mate, by the way. Yeah, you cracking up laughing. What was all that about? What was so funny about that? Why didn't you stay? Why didn't you say then? Why didn't you step in and say, "Hang on a minute"? Froch in a boxing match.
I even told him I think he'd knock you out, like personally.
What? To try and build it.
I'd love the fight though, wouldn't it? I mean, like you got Tony Bellew over there. He's going, do you know what? I could beat that Bridgerweight. Like I watch you on the bag sometimes, right? In my opinion,
is Bellew coming back?
He said, like, I just feel like a fight comes up. You know what it's like. You've looked at it before, and like, you know. But I believe you beat Conor McGregor, of course, and he's actually. He's not bad, like for an MMA fighter. He's actually a good boxer.
I don't take any pride from saying I'll beat Conor McGregor in a boxing ring because I would.
But it's like when you do interviews and say, Jake Paul, I'll smack. I'm like, Carl, don't even go there.
Put him into orbit.
I know.
Well, not even for the bunts.
But
you'd promote that.
But I do watch you on the bag sometimes. Think, you know what? You ain't quite as fast as. I mean, you were never the fastest.
No.
But
you're doubting the Cobra. Hey, when did you
last fight again?
When did you last see me on the back?
You post it all the time. I didn't know whether you slowed it down a little bit.
Did you know, like slap?
Do you know a lot of young fighters speed it up? I think you need to do that next time. Next time you do a clinch, you're like, beep, 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 beep.
Well, listen, at the end of my career when I boxed...
Do you want to fight again?
Even Butte. No, I don't want to fight again. That's what I always said. I'd never fight in a proper professional boxing match ever again. But
do you think... I've got a question for you now.
But a crossover fight's different.
Yeah. I've got a question for you, though. You know, like, your biggest asset was your balls.
Right? Yeah, my fitness as well.
Yeah.
But my balls, my refusal to quit.
But do you think now you could replicate those balls and that desire in a fight.
That's why I said I won't fight
think
a
you
proper
become
professional
softer?
boxing match. 100%, you
Yeah,
become more
yeah,
civilised
yeah.
when you retire. I've got kids.
But you know, like when it's on top
Yeah.
and your nose is smashed to pieces
Yeah.
and you're like, you just like, you can't even breathe.
Can I have
and
5 minutes?
Yeah, I know. Do you know what I mean? Shows you, doesn't it?
Where's that towel?
But don't you think that's so interesting for young fighters? Like when you talk about desire and stuff like that, as soon as that goes, everything changes.
Absolutely. And maybe the difference between Gervonta Davis and Garcia.
Yeah, I agree.
That upbringing.
You can't
and that
sit on your
desire.
knee
No.
and let the ref count to 10 and then get up. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, exactly.
But don't worry, I do think you beat Conor McGregor.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Well, that was 12 rounds with me and Eddie Hearn that actually worked out to not be 12 rounds. We just ended up having a bit of a chin wag about old times. I always thought that was going to happen. So we might get him back for another 6 questions. We might just leave it where it is. But don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed yourself. Thank you very much.